in episode 161.
It sparked a discussion we were trying to have, and in the worst possible place, you know, shared hotel room with the kids. They were just one door away. She said, I can't understand why you would want to put yourself voluntarily into a um, minority persecuted group.
So the thing is, like, are you really putting yourself in that minority? Or you are in that minority?
Yeah, yeah.
Regardless of you presenting one way or the other, you are in that minority. Welcome to the Cross YAAS podcast, the podcast that says YAAS to cross-dressing, sexuality, and gender. I'm your trans host, Billy, back again with the continuation of my Curi YAAS conversation with Sophia Less, aka Stiletto, from episode 25. In this episode, Sophia tells me about her recent fears on her gender journey. She asks me about my recent church experiences, and we chat a bit about the Cross YAAS confidential Discord. I think you'll like hearing the rest of her story. I know I did. Just re-listening to it, I was getting a bit emotional, and I'm really surprised I didn't just have a full-on cry. Well, anyway, here she is. I think you'll enjoy it.
YAAS! Yes, yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes.
Cross YAAS podcast with Giselle Mirasol
And Billy.
Yes! Yes!
Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
One of the recent guests on the podcast said that Brianna said, I think that she's tired of not presenting how she feels.
Mm-hmm.
And a guest prior said something about dressing as a boy, and it hit me like really hard, and it really verbalized for me. I think I am now dressing as a boy, begrudgingly, rather than as I want to and feel
Mm-hmm.
like I am inside, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I get really scared of that. Am I on a unstoppable, slippery slope to somewhere that I can't and don't want to go personally, which is transition? Is it inevitable? Is it out of my control? Is the kind of panic that's been setting in?
What's your fear about, or what do you
My
think your fear
fear,
is with transitioning? If
um,
that's the end result, or whatever.
it's my marriage. Yeah, it's my marriage. In my head, I do not want to transition. Anyway, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
My heart, I, my marriage, my wife are more important to me than um, my inner happiness around gender issues.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much a second or third place to my marriage. I'd be worried about my kids, but yeah, I would never ever want to be in a situation where either me or my wife would have to choose,
Mm-hmm.
because I yeah, I couldn't do that. Um, and it's not so critical that I can't carry on. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not the final piece of the puzzle for me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to happiness. I don't know whether anything is going to result in happiness for me, and that's been one of the thoughts that's been going around my head recently. Is maybe, like I I don't get to have hair on my head. That's just not for me in this life, right? It's gone. I had
Mm-hmm.
accepted it, but with these gender issues, it's really rearing its head again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I don't. That's just not for me. I've got good things. I've got a lack of some things, and I just think like the hair on my head, maybe physical appearance wise, sort of visual happiness in my body, and my representation just isn't for me. I don't. That's just one of those things I'm just not gonna get in this life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm not gonna get to be a racing driver, which is what I wanted to be as a kid, and I'm not gonna be. I don't get to be happy looking in the mirror. You know, that's been.
That's that's
I know
sad.
it's. I know it
That's
sounds
sad.
like a bit
It's really
wallowy,
sad.
but I don't. Yeah.
I mean,
Um.
it's a struggle that you're dealing with, and it's real.
Mm,
You know, I'm sure there's probably a lot of listeners on here that are they're going to be listening to this, and they're going to reach out to me and be like, Sophia mentioned this one part, and like I feel the same way.
yeah. You think?
That's freaking hard. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yeah.
That's so hard, and I really feel for you on there.
Um.
Have, have
And I.
you have you spoke to your wife about this at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Um. And we went on holiday, and I've just been in such a crisis about this stuff, and I put a post out on Instagram, uh, saying you know, without being one of these kind of uh, people who post something on social media and then just so they get someone to say you okay, hun, in the comments. You know, I'm not. I'm absolutely not for attention, but just by way of explanation that I'm not posting or tracking anything is that I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
I can't deal with the tension anymore, and I need to push it away for a bit because otherwise I'm quite at risk of purging everything.
Yeah, don't do that.
Um, but yeah, I've been feeling like I can't do this struggle anymore. I can't keep trying to feel happy and failing, um, because the crash is never worth the effort. Um, and maybe I'm better just ditching ditching the whole idea. You know, I can feel however I feel inside, but I don't. Um, it's too hard to try and represent that in a satisfying way on the outside. Um, there's a lot of pressures and things, and so I got a couple of sample sections of books on my Kindle for when I went away, and I'd sworn off, you know, anything non-cisgendered during holiday. But I started reading this chapter, and it was a book called They Them There, um, and it's non-binary representation. It's actually a more serious research-driven sort of explanation, and it's just the first chapter, but it's tremendous, brilliant stuff. A lot of things connected with me. You know, I will be buying the full book. If I don't swear off everything. But
Don't do it. Don't swear off everything.
um, and I said to my, you know, would you read this? Would you, because they say a lot of things in the book that I'm connecting with right now. And so she did, and it sparked a discussion we were trying to have, and in the worst possible place, you know, shared hotel room with the kids. You know, they were just one door away and kept coming in for various things, uh, and we were close to a low level argument. It was a passionate discussion, but it never it
Mm-hmm.
was never nasty or a full on fight or anything. But I was saying, you know, I just don't know how to keep dressing as a boy. Having people prejudge me as a cis man.
Mm-hmm.
That's feeling really tough at the moment. I don't want to be associated with masculinity, even just at someone's first meeting of me. And I don't want to be limited by masculine presentation or masculine behaviors or expectations. Those are the things that were really chiming with me in what the book was saying. And so she said, why, you know, uh, what's what's the point? What's the crux of what you're feeling? And I said, why does there need to be a crux? It's just a bunch of feelings. I don't have an explanation. There's not one issue. I can't give you that answer. Uh, I s- you know I think I would feel more positive about myself, and I have been the closest I have been to self-acceptance has been when I've been able to be um,
You.
presenting, when I've been able to be me, but presenting what I feel inside. Um,
Mhm.
and so we had this chat, and she said, "But what's the upside?" And I was, "Well, if all of that doesn't sound like an upside, I'm not sure what else to tell you, right?" So, um, but she is very. I think her number one goal in life is to never stand out, to
Mm.
never draw attention. Um, and that applies to more than just the way she dresses, um, but the way she behaves, how she behaves with her family, how we parent, how we operate in the community where we live, and things like that. Quite fearful. Um, and so she said, I can't understand why you would want to put yourself voluntarily into a um, minority uh, persecuted group.
So the thing is, like, are you really putting yourself in that minority, or you are in that minority,
Yeah, yeah,
regardless of you presenting one way or the other? You are in that minority. You hiding and not deal. I don't want to say dealing, but dealing with it. I mean, that you're still in that minority.
I am, but no one else knows. I think is the struggle. So like,
To me, that sounds worse.
does it?
It does, because how are you supposed to get any kind of support if you're alone and hiding your struggle? The
Right.
time you had, it seemed like the best time you had was when you had the support group, and you're going out and you're being able to be yourself and be seen and be known. But now you're hiding, and the complete opposite of the way you were before, and you're miserable, and you're saying you're overweight and all this other stuff, and like I'm seeing the connection.
Sure. Yeah.
And I know it's difficult, in the marriage situation, and I totally understand all that stuff. But regardless of how you're presenting, you are in that minority.
Yeah. Yeah. It's silly. It's silly little things, surface little things, I think, that bring it really into focus for me. It's like being encouraged to put your pronouns on your email signature at work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, um, because as much of an ally as I am, and I am voluntarily part of a diversity and inclusion group at work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I did as a response to Black Lives Matter, but is much more about all the battles. Um, I can't bring myself to put my pronouns down because,
What's the fear?
uh, firstly, I guess I haven't really decided. I'm not 100% on they them. I like the Zer um, pronouns.
Pron-
They,
you know
they they work, but
Pronouns can change.
I don't want to come out at work uh, without permission or without sharing a shared decision with my wife, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't want to commit to he him and then change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just feels really. I had to write a bio piece recently, and I kept using my first name over and over because I couldn't write a pronoun. Um, I couldn't do it. It was upsetting me. And I remember talking to someone who was trying to apply to jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
they wanted jobs to be applied to in your birth assigned gender. because of paperwork and identification and all that rubbish. And they were taking half a day to a day to fill in a form because they were in tears and they didn't know how to do it. And I couldn't identify with that struggle, but I'm starting to. And this is part of that kind of feeling of, am I just on a roller coaster? Am I on a conveyor belt that I can't stop? And that's causing a feeling of panic. And like I was at a trade show year or so ago, and one of the marketing ladies looked me up and down and said, "Where's your tie?" And I said, "I didn't bring one. I just wear an open shirt, open collar, just top button undone, and a suit. Which I don't like it at the best of times, but yeah." Uh, she said, "Gentlemen wear ties at our events." And that still rings around my head all the time. Is, firstly, are we instructing the ladies what to wear? No. By the look of the diversity of presentation, no. Secondly, I hate ties. I hate them. I think that they are more of a block to congenial interaction than they are a gateway to it now. So like, if our Prince of Wales, as yes, he's now the Prince of Wales.
Sure.
If Prince William can give an OBE to a dying woman in an open shirt, then I think I can attend a trade show without a tie on. It's like, this is 2022. Do we really have to be strangling ourselves? I find the tie really an oppressive thing to wear and look at on myself. And that just, that always bothers me. And it's just this expectation. Oh, you're a man, you should do this. You're a man, you should be able to do that. Or you have all of these preconceptions. I already have a big disadvantage in the fact that I've got no hair on my head, and that seems to be a problem for visually seeming quite incompetent, I think, or unremarkable or forgettable, I guess, is I guess what I feel from people. But yeah, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of kind of piled together junk. But
I'm sorry. That's got to be really tough. Really sorry.
No, I didn't want this to be a pity party because there's a lot of good things. There's a lot
it's
of
okay.
fun
It's
stuff
okay.
that I've done.
No, you've done a lot of fun stuff, and you've done a lot of cool stuff, and I love that. It's so awesome. And this isn't a pity party. You're sharing like your thoughts and feelings that are that have been bothering you on your mind, and that's awesome. I mean, the thoughts and stuff may not be that awesome, but the fact they're being vulnerable and letting this stuff out, that's great.
I don't have a conclusion. It's always tempting to. I was very tempted to put this off until I had reached a decision, until I had reached this is just the low point, and now it's all high and everything's great, or whatever. But I don't know. Is there value to being in the struggle and just saying this is? I don't have the answers. I don't know right now.
I think it's totally fine. I don't think you should know all the answers. I don't know all the answers. I don't know most of the answers people ask me. I don't even know where I'm going, but I'm just like here for the ride. You mentioned the on the roller coaster. I stopped resisting. That conveyor belt. I stopped resisting the conveyor belt, and for me, it's been pretty fucking great, honestly. Have I had my low points? Hell yeah, I've had my low points. But the highs have been way higher than I ever could have imagined.
What are some
Especially
of those
compared
highs for you?
the lows
The highs.
or the highs. Uh, I love that I can do this podcast and connect with
Yeah.
so many people. Like for me, that is huge. That's so huge. Um, I've been whenever I go out, like so many people just I don't know. People are like starting to like just be attracted to me. Just like they start coming towards me and talk to me all the time. Never happened before.
You've got a great spirit, you know.
People just
But
like I don't get it.
I imagine that's your own comfort shining out though, and
Probably
that's
is.
magnetic, I think.
It probably is. But like that never happened before.
Mm,
Just
mm.
this last Sunday, I was going to church and I got out of my car and this lady like gets out around the same time and she walks up to me. She's like, "Oh, I love your top," and we just start talking for like 10 minutes on the walk to the church, and like that for me that was huge,
Mm, mm.
and it made me feel like so good, made me feel good about myself. Um, Throughout this whole process, like one of the biggest highs for me is just being more outgoing and just be able to connecting with people is so huge for
Yeah.
me.
Can I ask you about church? Because I know you've mentioned it a few times. I'm Christian, but I haven't attended church for a long time. How have you found a church where you feel comfortable? Has there been any uncomfortable situations around your trans identity as part of that? Has it been what church should be, which is inclusive and glorious?
That's a good question because I was going to one church for several months, and I've never been like super religious or spiritual or anything, but I started going on Easter, and it was going great. Like everyone there was like super nice and welcoming, and I want to say accepting of me. Like everyone, just like just like everywhere else, everyone just like they fucking flock to me. I don't get it. I don't
Nice.
get it. I know I'm different. I know I stand out, but
Enjoy it.
people just they come and talk to me, and I start talking. Like I become a motor mouth. I can't shut up, and it was good. It built a lot of I felt like good relationships, good friendships, and stuff. And I was meeting pastors, two of the pastors on Thursday nights, just kind of here and there, and we're talking about like identity and like my identity in Christ, and I was talking about how like I was struggling with for a while there I was struggling with two identities. I guess three. It became three.
Yeah.
Um, my male identity, my female identity, and then my identity in Christ. The male identity, my struggle there was it still being there. I don't want it there, and it's really only there at like work. Like I want to
Yeah.
get away from it. And it's just I
Yeah.
can't fucking get away from it for whatever reason. The female identity struggle is just being comfortable with myself and like the self acceptance stuff.
Yeah.
The identity in Christ is just because I've never been religious or anything, so believing in stuff is it's difficult for me.
Mhm.
Um, and then towards a few weeks ago, I met with them for the last time on a Thursday, and it quickly became, we're gonna tell you this stuff that's really hard, and we love you, but you're in the eyes of God, you're a man. You're born this, you were born a man, so you're a man.
Ugh.
So you find Christ, become a man, and it's like I immediately started feeling defensive, and I kind of stopped talking. Um,
Yeah.
so for me,
Yeah.
it's like I love you, but it's like that's not.
Yeah.
I
You
feel like I
quickly
deserve
feel like a
better.
project
Mm-hmm.
there's this
Mm-hmm.
kind of veneer of acceptance, but actually it's so that they can change you.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt that before. I
Yeah.
personally completely and totally disagree. You are a child of God. You are the way God made you.
Mm-hmm.
Out of
Mm-hmm.
out of your struggle will come will come a growth in your
Oh yeah.
spirit that will
Oh
be
yeah.
eternal, you know. And I want to tell you that that's just crap. It's just
Yeah. No, it is. It
it's
is.
just
And
so rubbish.
in all of that, like through a few of the sermons, they're always like, shame and all this stuff is like, or hiding your true self is sinning and stuff. So
Yeah,
in my mind, it's like, okay, my old self was me sinning and hiding who I really am because I'm putting this mask on, trying to be this man. I've done all the man stuff. I
yeah,
had a manly job. I got married. I didn't have kids, but had a wife and all the typical man stuff, right? Wasn't happy, miserable. But
yeah.
now, like in this last few years, after trying to let my shame go and talking to my ex-wife for the first time and then Giselle for the second time. Fucking Giselle is, I don't know, magic somehow. Um, like I've become, I guess, who I was meant to be, who I was supposed to be. So for the idea of
Right.
me being pushed back into that box,
Mm, mm.
for me it's terrifying, and I wouldn't want to go back in that box.
No, and they
And
make
I
it seem like it's a choice between being yourself or being acceptable to God,
mm-hmm.
which
It's
is
like I am the way I've been this way my whole life.
yeah,
Me hiding this way has been most of my life, and it wasn't great.
yeah,
So, I was through that whole like discussion or whatever. Like I cried the whole way home. It's like a 30-minute drive. I cried the whole way home.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I've done a lot of processing in those last few weeks. Like
It
I
makes me
I,
really
I
angry though. It makes me really angry
mhm.
that they've misrepresented God,
Well,
you know.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I still like the people. I'm the person that still likes everybody because it's me. Um, but in all of that, I've gotten like some radical self acceptance, probably the
Right.
complete opposite of what they were wanting me to do. I proposed the question on the Cross YAAS Discord. If you're not on the Discord, get on the Discord. Sorry, I had to throw a commercial in there.
Good.
It's been an hour and a half with no commercial. So
Yeah, yeah,
anyway, I posed a question on the Discord to people, and it was really for myself. And it was if somebody offered a cure for my transness, for me to be cis male or whatever, would I want that? And I was thinking, maybe like 3 years ago when I was like, the fish underwater, and I didn't really realize who I am or what I am, or accept who I am or what I am. I probably would take that pill or that magic cure or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But now that I know who I am and I love who I am, I love who I've become. I love that I can connect with people on here and share their stories. I love that. Uh, I would never, ever, ever, ever take that magic cure, ever. I would never want to go back.
hmm
Um, so in all that, I've gotten radical self acceptance. Um, I went to I've been to a couple churches since then because well, back up. The following Saturday after the Thursday, I went up to, it was like one of the head pastors' last services or something. So I went there and I felt like my old mask coming on. Like
Okay.
I was there, but I felt like shit. I didn't want to, like, just the old mask. Like it was just all the old
That
feelings that I used to feel were
is that a
coming back out.
physical presentation, or that's what you're feeling inside?
Feeling inside, because I still
Yeah.
went in female mode or femme or whatever. And I felt it that Saturday. I went the Sunday because they had like a potluck thing that I agreed to bring stuff to. And I felt it really hardcore there.
hmm
Um, that church was really big on like small groups,
Yeah.
and I never really like pushed joining a small group because they're really gendered. There's like the male, female,
Yep.
and then like the co-ed group. The place is already kind of far from me, and the co-ed group's times didn't really work. I don't feel like I belong in the male group. I also don't really feel like I belong in the female group. So it's like I never
Yep.
really made a whole lot of effort. I was offered to join a women's group by like one of the leaders of one of the women's groups
Okay.
that one of my friends was in or is in. But like 2 weeks passed, I didn't hear anything about it. And then like that friend like told me one day after church, she's like, Billy, I have some. She's like hyperventilating, like just really stressed out. You could just physically you'd see it in her body. And she's like, Billy, this is really hard for me to tell you, but you can't join the women's group.
Yeah.
And like it was heartbreaking for her. So then that last Sunday that I went there, at the potluck thing, another lady offered me to join their small group, and I saw my friend kind of interject, and she said, "Is it a women's group? Is it co-ed group?" And like that, like I was already like feeling the mask, and just didn't really feel like I was like belonged, and just seeing her like struggle with like those mental gymnastics of this, it killed me so much. And I was like, from that point on, I was like, I can't do this. I can't go back.
Yeah.
And then like that night I went home. I was like full on. My emotions were just like full on, like
Yeah.
filled to the brim, like borderline suicide. I've never been suicidal, but if I didn't seek out help, I feel like maybe I could have gotten to that point.
Okay.
So I reached out to my ex-wife and talked to her for like 3 hours, and like I had
Is
this
this
huge
Gloria
fear
that
of
you've
like,
talked about before?
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I feared like losing my friend Gloria over this, and that whole like the whole next week, like I already knew I wasn't going to go back, and
Yeah.
I told her the following Saturday, because she reached out to me. She's like, "Hey, you want to go to this thing with me?" And I said, "I think I'm gonna step back from that church because I can't. It's not for me." And she's like, "I totally understand." She's super super cool. I love her. And that next Sunday, I went to a church that's close by to me. And the funny thing is, I got recognized for the podcast there.
No way. Wow.
I
Awesome.
totally did. And they joined the Discord.
Sweet.
So that was a funny story. I'll go ahead and tell it. So I go to the church, and I'm gonna use his name, but I should say the guy, or the person like after the service, they had a potluck. Potlucks are very popular in churches, apparently. They had a potluck, and that person invited me to their table. Gigi on the server. I think that's how you say it, Gigi. I'll just say Gigi. Gigi invited me to the table and like introduced me to a couple family members, and we chit chatted for a little while, and the family members left, and Gigi like asked me like, "How'd you end up in California?" or something like that, and I do my normal story, which is I tend to start my story from when my ex-wife came out to me, and I start going, okay, this is kind of a long story, but I'll tell it anyway because that's how I always started off. And Gigi leans in and goes, I'm gonna make your long story short. You're Billy from YAAS. And I'm like, I am. So weird
Wow.
being recognized for the podcast in person.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for as few episodes as I've done. I know Giselle's bitter.
You'll be signing autographs soon, I think.
I hope so. But Gigi's awesome. Gigi and her wife is on the Discord. I didn't have any issues with the church. I just wasn't for me, I think. And
Yeah.
I also don't like them knowing all of maybe some of my personal bits in that kind of a setting.
I imagine it's a weird introduction, yeah, where where people kind of know very, very core, intimate stuff about you before you know their name. That's kind of a
Yeah,
weird
and
place to be.
I'm a very open person these days, so it's like it's not that big of a deal. But there's certain things like maybe it's I just want to separate it a little bit.
Yeah.
So after that, 2 weeks ago, I started going to another church, and it's an Episcopal church.
Okay.
And as soon as I went there, there's like a ton of like trans people there.
Ah, okay.
They had like a big pride flag hanging outside.
Yes. Awesome.
Um, I go in, I do the service, and service is completely different from anything I've ever done. Like most, like I've done like Christian services where they do like the music. You walk in, you find your chair, seat. They do like an opening prayer. You sit down, they do the sermon. Then they do another prayer and they play music and you leave. That's
Yeah.
most typical of ones I've ever done. And this one's like it's very participation heavy. So there's a
Right.
lot of singing. There's a lot of like I don't know the hierarchy of the minister, pastor, reverend, or whatever they are. They'll say something and then you say something. Sometimes it's in unison. They'll do this in like
Okay.
Mandarin, Spanish, and English at this one.
Nice.
They practice radical inclusion, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
So after the first service, after I did the body and the blood of Christ, which new to me, I've never done that before.
It sounds very Church of England style
Yeah,
that I'm
I
used
think
to.
I think it is, but I think they like split off and it's like the American version or
Right.
something.
Right.
I don't really know.
There's a sort of quasi Catholicism aspect
Mhm,
to it. It's a little
mhm,
bit like mass where you've got that kind of rote stuff you have to get through. Yeah,
mhm,
yeah.
mhm. But I don't know. I really enjoy it. I like all the
Hmm.
singing and stuff. It's cool. Keeps me engaged.
Yeah.
Um, After that first service, I was sitting next to somebody, and they introduced themselves to me, and they introduced me to a bunch of other LGBT alphabet people. One of them is, I think, non-binary, and the other one was a bisexual woman. They both invited me to lunch, so we
Yeah.
went to lunch. Uh, and the non-binary person, like, apparently is the head of the LGBT group there. They have a support group, and they have like a Bible study or something. I'm actually going to they're doing a movie night tomorrow.
Mhm.
They're doing but I'm not a cheerleader. I think it's about like a cheerleader goes to a conversion therapy camp or something, which is weird in a church to me. But they're doing a movie night slash drag slash karaoke night.
Wow. That sounds
So
awesome.
I'm gonna go to that. That's why I couldn't do this
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, uh, so anyway, that was great. Then I went the next Sunday. I that was when the lady, coming out of the car talked to me on the whole way up there. She was great. Um, they had like they call it homecoming, some like special holiday. I don't know. It's new to me. Went after that. I got introduced to more people, and they had like a art show thing. They have like an art guild, and I talked to some old lady, and I was like showing her because I do watercolors,
Yeah, yeah.
and I
I
was
see them.
and I was just just showing her like a couple of my arts, and she's like, "Oh, you should join the guild. They have an art guild." So immediately, I'm just like, it's not like at the other place where they have to have this like big discussion of like if I can join, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it's like huge deal. Like it's just like you should
There's
join
already
this thing.
places for you. There's
Yeah,
already things that are
it's
custom
just
made for you waiting.
yeah, it's just like automatic acceptance, and it's like
Uh,
it just feels so much better to me.
awesome. Yeah.
So long story short,
No, no. That's good. That's good.
I've been there 2 weeks. I got it my third week Sunday, so it's been
Awesome.
good so far.
Hmm.
And Gigi's great. No, there's no bad blood, no hard feelings, Gigi. I just don't want people at church to know about my Ziploc bags. If you're on the Patreon, you know. If you're not on the Patreon, you should get on the Patreon so you know about the Ziploc bags.
I did join the Discord a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
And but when I was there, think I find it really hard to talk in a dip in, dip out kind of conversation. I need uh so when I was there, I think it was quite early, not as early as you, but it was quite early, and there were just a few channels, but there would be these huge conversations that started, and I just find it really hard to slide in and slide out again.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know everything that's been said so that I can
Oh,
make a considered response and stuff. But I did meet this, and also time zone, like it was really heavy US time zone.
mm-hmm.
Um, but I did meet a German uh, person called Sabrina who was
Oh yeah, Sabrina.
fabulous. Yeah, she's still there.
Yeah, she's still there. She pops in
Awesome.
here every now and then.
Oh, I'd love to catch up with her again. But
You should
then
jump back in
I
there.
should. The problem I had, and it sounds really stupid, but I started another kind of hobby that involves using Discord,
Mm-hmm.
and I could not switch identities um,
Oh, I think you can do that
on
now.
Discord. It just, yeah, it was driving me crazy. And I know you can do like a nickname change, but the profile picture stays the same. And I'm just very, on my online stuff, I'm very, very careful not to cross streams.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
have like Facebook for very cis family and friends that know me and stuff. And I've got Instagram, which is very femme, and I've got Discord, which is this hobby
Sounds
that I do.
confusing.
Um, and I never do they cross, right? So I'm just petrified of putting something out in the world that's on the wrong channel.
Sounds very confusing and a lot of
Yeah,
work.
but I do want to
But
touch back in with Sabrina, and I don't. I was going to ask you, is there more of an international flavor? Is it more this, my side of the Atlantic? Has there been
there
any more
there
people join?
there are some more people in there. Sarah, I just did the interview with Sarah. Sarah's always on here. She's in Scotland.
Okay.
There's a few others that are around that area. Can't remember their names off the top of my head. They're usually active when I'm asleep or at work.
I
So
remember hearing, is it Nikki from Ireland uh, that Giselle interviewed? She has this massive Instagram following, um,
um, yeah, I think so.
and I think she just did a live on Instagram with Savannah Hawke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I'm allowed to mention another podcast, but
You
yeah,
already, you just did.
sorry.
Well,
It's
if
not.
Savannah Hawk's listening and she wants to be on the podcast, reach out to me. I would love to
That'd
have
be
you on
awesome.
here and get you on a DDT or a roundtable or something. I
I
think that'd be
love
great.
listening to them, but I'm not. I don't vibe with that podcast as much as Cross YAAS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are a few things that I think are really, really cool that they've put out, and I love their relationship. A cis ally and a part-time trans person, part-time presenting trans person, a gender binary, dual gender, she calls it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I love that dynamic. It's awesome. And I just found that there's a UK podcast that is called Envious. So like envious,
Mm-hmm.
but with NB at the front. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very non-binary focused. And that's kind of interesting. That's helped refine a few thoughts for me as well. But I had to go somewhere else, Billy, because of that long hiatus without um, without Cross YAAS
Yeah.
posting. So, but
Yeah.
I'm so glad
Sorry.
that you guys are back.
Well, I took it over in like January, and then I was going through a lot of my own person. That was like when I
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah,
earlier, I had a lot of like really lows. That was my really low, like January until Easter ish. That was my
yeah.
like really really low,
Mm,
and I had a really hard time putting anything out. I had a fairly decent amount of things recorded.
right.
I just couldn't get to editing them. I couldn't
Mm,
get them out. I feel like some of them just it's been so much time has passed that they're probably like completely irrelevant at this point. Maybe not. I don't know.
mhm.
Um, But I think I was averaging like one every 3 months. Maybe one of them was me having a mental breakdown.
That's
That was
valid
about
though.
pronoun stuff. At the doctor. So I'm trying to get better though. I'm trying to get stuff out more frequently. And
Don't
Giselle
yeah.
being around
You don't
helps.
need to feel bad about it. It's the way it is, you know. I remember when Giselle signed off for a while.
Hmm.
I sent her a message, um, just saying, you are still highly relevant, and people are still like, certainly I can speak for myself only, but I still love what you do. It's not dried up. Um, I don't think I don't think everything's been said yet, and even if it has, a lot of it bears repeating in different ways with different stories, and
Hmm.
but totally,
It may
totally, totally getting the fact that she needed a break, absolutely. But I think she was saying, I don't know if I've got anything else to say. Um,
She may
but
not, but everybody, a lot of other people do.
yeah,
Even if it's the same
yeah,
stuff that bears repeating, um, it's so powerful for people to verbalize their thoughts and feelings, even if it's the same things that everyone else has thought or felt.
right.
Like just you personally getting this stuff out is, in my opinion, is huge, 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 huge.
Mm, mm. But yeah, if
So like,
when you see or talk to Giselle, do send her my love and affection because um, I gather she's gone through some stuff, but yeah, it's she's missed and valued, and yeah.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And she means a lot to me.
Mm.
Um, like really on a personal level, because I mean, fucking bitch changed my fucking life on all
I
kinds of
kind of,
levels.
from an outsider's perspective, it kind of feels like she and Sierra like pushed you to move out, and
They
then
did.
like I think you hit lockdown, was it, or like you didn't meet up for ages, or you know something went
They
down,
just
and
they just started living their life.
yeah.
So I moved out here and got left alone. But I mean, I've grown a lot in that period
Mm,
of time.
mm,
It kind of forced me to be more comfortable in myself and get to a point of self acceptance that I wasn't at before.
mhm.
And the fact that it's happened all in a year is kind of mind blowing to me because I didn't expect to be on hormones and doing the stuff that I'm
Yeah.
doing now. That was never my intention. Like when I moved, but
Hmm.
it happened. Like I said earlier, I stopped resisting.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, there's still a little bit of resist. I still resist a little bit, but it gets easier. It does.
I think the only thing I've done hormone wise is I've taken a bit of a testosterone blocker,
Mm,
uh, kind of just to dial down um, that that side of me a bit. It has helped with anger.
hmm.
Um, yeah. Uh, and I kind of tried in this kind of semi purge push out thing. I tried when we went away to not take that stuff, and I didn't like how I felt when I wasn't taking it.
Hmm.
Uh, so
That's
yeah,
a
it's a
very
weird.
cis. That's a very cis take on it.
Is it?
You're so cis to like want to take this testosterone blocker and get off of it, and then like not like it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm joking.
I know, I don't know. Yeah,
Like
oh,
I missed one pill. I've missed one pill of estradiol like a week ago, and I was freaking the fuck out.
wow.
And it's not even that big of a deal. It's just like my morning dose, but I was freaking the fuck out.
And you
So
felt it before you remembered.
I realized after I left my house to go to work, and I was about 15 minutes out, and there was really no turning back. but I did feel it. I was sluggish that day. I think I was a bit more irritable.
Hmm.
I didn't like it. I mean, it was only one dose. It's really not that huge of a deal in the
Hmm.
grand scheme of things, but I don't know. I didn't like it. So
Yeah. 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 Like I say, I wish I had a conclusion, but I don't know. I'll I'll keep working.
well,
Um,
I always like to say, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting there.
right.
So
Yeah.
maybe look at it like that. Like,
Hmm.
do you need a conclusion? Do you need a final destination?
What I need at the moment, I think, is clarity. Is an idea of a direction. Doesn't need to be an endpoint, but I need to have a comfortable, something that feels correct,
Mm-hmm.
good point in a good balance point with all the other tensions that I've got. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I need to find, I think. So yeah, if
Well, if there's anything that I can do to help, even if it's just you reaching out to me and talking to me, feel free to reach out anytime.
thank you. And I
Of
yeah,
course.
I think that for you and for anyone who had similar struggles, where you hit a downside, I hope there's people in your life, in anyone listening's life that you can go to. But if not, if the worst you can do is talk to me, then do, because um, yeah, I would never want to. I heard it said somewhere recently. I'd rather uh, I'd rather you call me at 3 in the morning than I go to your funeral. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which
Same. Same. I
yeah,
feel the same.
cool. Thank you, Billy.
Cool.
Uh,
Sorry, we ended
really
kind of
really
heavy.
enjoyed that. Yeah, I,
Do you have
I don't know. I
any?
don't know
Do
how
you have
to go
any
light.
other? Do you have any other final thoughts you'd like to share with anybody? I know we just kind of
Mm,
let it all out right there, but
I can't think of anything. Um, no, I'm super grateful for the podcast.
cool.
If you struggle for motivation, know that people are champing at the bit, desperate for a new one, or for more, or an update from someone, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But
Yeah.
maybe it's my fault. Maybe because I haven't been in the Discord. Maybe it's my own fault, really.
Get back in there. Get back in the Discord because it's not lately. It hasn't been as probably when you started. I know Ty and I, or I can't remember what her name was at the time. Tanya at the time.
Yeah,
I know we were doing a lot of really heavy conversations back then because we were figuring ourselves out.
yeah,
Now it's a bit easier to follow now. There's a good mix of people there, and try to jump back in. I think it would do you some good. We have a
I,
lot of more channels now. It's not just like the one. There's
yeah.
a lot of stuff going on there. So I
I think
think
it'd be cool to talk to you, and I think I get most, or have in the past got most out of like one-on-one chats.
hmm
So like with Sabrina, I'd love to catch up with her. I feel really bad because
hmm
I haven't uh, left her hanging a bit, and at the time, I think we were the only two Europeans there. So
yeah.
um, but
There are a few more there
if there's a
now.
few more, that's cool.
There are a few more there now.
Awesome.
And Sarah is she just joined earlier this year, and I just did an interview with her. She's great. I love talking to her. I video chat with her on there all the time.
Cool.
I was doing like a 4 hour video chat with her last weekend.
Yeah.
So she's great. She's great.
And it's a comfortable place, I'm assuming, for people to
Mhm.
show up however they feel like presenting that day. It,
Yes, yes,
yeah, that's great.
100%.
Thanks, Billy.
Well,
I really
cool.
appreciate it. Thanks for making the time and everything.
Yeah, of course, of course. Thanks for giving us an update and being vulnerable and sharing your story. You you do deserve to be heard. You are loved, and Thank you so much.
No, of course.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I want to send my biggest thanks and hugs to Sophia for taking the time to chat with me and giving us all an update to where she is and has been. If you enjoyed the conclusion to Sophia's story or something really hit close to home and would like to share your own, please reach out to myself or Giselle on the Cross YAAS Instagram, crossyaaspodcast.com, or the Cross YAAS Confidential Discord. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know how to spell it, but it's CROSSYAAS. You know, also like this episode really hit close home to me. I just hear a lot of struggle in Sophia's voice, and I hope that she gets the help that she needs and deserves. And if you're struggling with things that you're keeping internalized, please seek out some kind of help, because it's not worth dealing with all that internal mental anguish. But anyway, I love y'all. Take care, and remember, be yourself. Bye. I'm not here to diagnose or treat anything. I'm just here to share my story, have others come on the podcast to share their story, to help you learn about the world of cross-dressing, sexuality, and gender.